I didn't ask you earlier, what made you ultimately decide to franchise the concept though?
Ooh, good question. That was never our intent. So when my wife and I first got started, I mean, we were in our 20s when we opened up our first business. And we opened one school. I kept my career in corporate America in real estate. I was in real estate sales did a very good career in that. Opened up one school. It was successful as wildfire, faster than we expected. We were in the black day one. I just thought that was normal. You open a business, of course you should be profitable. Little did I know, 17 years later, that's not always the case. But again, you don't know what you don't know. So, what do you do during the financial crisis of 2009 to 2010? Well, you double down, right? So let's open another school because I'm invincible. So open another school, and man, if we were profitable on the first day again. So wow. I didn't learn, I guess, I didn't learn that lesson. Thankfully, I'm glad I didn't know, because it probably would have scared me. It really would have.
Yeah.
It probably would have scared me out of opening a second one. So we ran two schools. I then quit my corporate America job in real estate. We ran two schools, ran them for 10 years. And we really thought that was our trajectory. I'd never heard the word franchising. I thought that was for McDonald's and all those fast food guys. I didn't know. I think I went to IFA this past year. You can probably unpack what that means to the audience here.
Yeah.
And I think I heard a crazy stat, like 20% of the businesses that Americans interact with on a weekly basis are in franchise space. It was a really high amount.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. You think of food, but also, the convenience store at the gas station, the guy that cuts the grass. There's lots of people out there. Anyways, So we did that for 10 years. And then it was our customer base that really got us into franchising, to answer your question. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte is a very transient city, very, very big banking city. So people were getting job promotions and transfers, going to Florida, Texas, wherever it is. They would have to pull their child out of our school. We have a long wait list. We would backfill that pretty easily. But then they would move to Florida, and then they would start calling my wife the next week crying, I can't find an Ivybrook. I can't find anything that is like you here. My child is going to regress. And for 10 years, people were calling us and saying, you got to open one here, open one here. And Frank, I guess I'm not very smart, because it took us 10 years to finally figure out, maybe we should look into how to expand the company. We're like, oh, that's so nice. That's flattering. I like Charlotte. I'm not moving out of Charlotte. And then we had to figure out which route to go. I didn't want to do company owned one. I thought, that takes so much capital, licensing. Discovered franchising, and I've really fallen in love with franchising. I got my CFE this year, certified franchise expert, which I'm very excited about. That's how much I like franchising, and it was our customer. So I appreciate all of them, and they're the ones that really was the motivation, and really two mindsets. And again, going back to, my wife and I, different mindsets, my mindset is we just had 10 years of people that just did market research. There's demand out there, right? There's demand that I need to fill as a business owner. They just did 10 years of research projects for me for free. Okay. Of course, they did a little bit more than that. And then on my wife, she goes, look at all the children we can help. Look at all the kids across the country that don't have this opportunity that we can help. And again, when you marry both ideas, it sure doesn't hurt. Sure worked out well.
Wow. I don't want to confuse different podcast episodes, because we don't know when this one's going to air, but I will tell you that I just recorded another episode with a founder in the child-related space. It's a woman that has made a huge impact on the lives of kids. And she said almost word for word the same thing that you said.
Oh, no,
I was thinking your wife said about what drew her to franchising was, I never realized how much more impact I could be making on people. And that was what drew her in. It's like franchising finds us. You hear that all the time, but it's true. I don't really know of anybody that started a company and said, oh, I'm going to go right to franchising. You don't even think of it. You think of you're fulfilling a need, and you're making it different. Like you said, it's either unique or you're doing something, making it better, and you just start doing it. And ultimately franchising though is that, obviously I'm a huge huge supporter of franchising in that I also get the ability to have people working the business side by side with me as franchise partners that I could have never afforded as an employee as well.
Yeah.
But they have all different skill sets. So what does the skill set of or background of an Ivybrook Academy franchisee look like? What are some of those traits and backgrounds?
Yeah, good question. It's really two different mindsets, as I was kind of alluding to earlier. I'll unpack a little bit more. Either someone that has first of all, most of our franchisees are couples that have children at some age in their life. Doesn't have to be Ivybrook aged children. Maybe they're in college, maybe they're, young adults by now, but that seems to be the consensus thus far, because they get it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're parents, they have kids, they get the need. I mean, they're explaining exactly what I just did. They live through it with their lens and perspective of, oh man, I wish I could have had this for my kid, right? That's very common, all right? Now, their backgrounds in life are very diverse and different. I have some, obviously the easiest one to think of is I got someone that used to be a teacher. I got someone that was a daycare director, but I also have people that were, business, C-suite executives in corporate America, and they want to get out of corporate America. That's kind of all of franchising, right? But they're very good at running the business operations as far as, the metrics and the KPIs and the P&L statements. And then they're really smart with their first hire needs to be the on-site school director, right? The principal. I mean, so those are the people that, and every time they come through and they attend a discovery day to learn more about our brand, we are very upfront and we tell them your first hire needs to be your counterpart that is the other side of the business. Okay. So whether someone comes in with an education background, we tell them we need to hire you a business person first, or a business coach, which we have a business success coach on staff now, which I'm pretty pumped about.
Sweet.
And then if they come in with that business mindset, we equally tell them, hey, we need someone that is, out front, talking about education. So we're going to hire you the counterpart, and we can work with either skill set.
That is so smart that you customize it. It's not a one size fit all, that you're truly taking their profile, taking their background, and you're not even telling them to wipe it clean. Like, in other words, you're really putting value into their skill set and their background and applying it to this business, which is in some ways unique, because some franchisors would be like, no, this is how we do it. And I don't care what your background is. Here's how you make the McDonald's, here's how you make the Big Mac. And in your case though, you're actually taking their background and rewarding them for it, and you're applying it, and you're appreciating them for who they are.
Yeah. The best owners, the best franchise owners, franchisees are the ones that don't mind identifying their weaknesses. I mean, the people that think that they can do everything are probably not in the right seat. And the ones that know their strengths and know their weaknesses, and then help to overcome their weaknesses and are upfront about that and can be humble, man, they're going to be a rocket ship all-star all day with me.
What was it like though when you first became a franchisor? So you start out, you get that first check, you get that first franchise
Yeah.
And what was life like for you guys? And where was that?
I turned away that first check, so I guess it would be the second check, right?
Right.
So we had our annual owners conference last month, and the very first 3 franchisees, I consistently tell them every time I see them, I am so sorry we didn't know what we were doing when you guys first signed on. And thankfully I have an amazing relationship. Like I mean, they'll give me a hug. I give them a hug. I mean, like really, really good friends, good friends. And I just apologize. We learned so much more in 7 years than we did that first year. I am just like, I didn't have anything buttoned down. And they're like, what are you talking about? Everything seemed fine. I go, no, you really just don't get it. Like, it was really not the same process we have in place now. I'm like, oh, everything seemed fine. I'm like, okay. But here's what's great. Like, they are the 3 absolute best performing franchisees. The first 3, they're amazing. I mean, they are rock stars.
You hit the lottery. You hit the lottery 3 times early on.
3 times. Boom, boom, boom. 3 in a row. 3 in a row. And I mean, I'm not talking about just financials. I'm talking about enrollment. I'm talking about customer service. I'm talking about staff retention. I mean, they hit everything out of the park, first 3 in a row. And how about that being the base and the benchmark for everybody else going forward? If these 3 can do it, you can do it, right?
Yes.
And let me show you how to do it. So they and people ask me, how did that happen? Because we poured a crap ton of time and effort into them. We lived with them, literally. We would not. I'm never going to let anyone fail, first of all. And second, I'm really not going to let the first 3 fail, right? And everybody knows, as a franchisor, your first 10 people set the bar for your success and trajectory for the rest of your career.
Say that again. I want the entire audience to make sure they heard that.
Okay. Your first 10 franchisees set the bar and the success for the rest of your life. Meaning, I'll unpack that. If you just take checks from the very first 10 people that give them to you, and you don't vet out that they're the right cultural fit for your brand, and they start closing, you will never open 11, 12, 13, and beyond. So your first 10 people are your validators for the rest of your life. And that's what these 3 people, my first 10 people, we rotate. They go through once a month. They're typically on calls with potential candidates, talking about exactly what it's like to be a franchisee. And God bless them. I mean, they're giving time out of their day and their busy schedules for free to help try to grow the brand, because that's how much that we've poured into them, and now they're paying it forward.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.